Welcome back to the BA podcast here in Dallas at the BA event, the third one of the year. If you don't know what BA is, it's Board of Advisors. Go check it out. You may be attending the next event. It's your boy C-Roc here. I'm here with Rey Perez, my buddy. We ran into each other the last BA. We've known each other for a few years now, and we got to hang out again this time. And this guy, you know what I love about this guy? I was in Park City a few months ago, and I'm like, I'm about 30 minutes from the airport. He's like, hey, man, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning, take you to the airport. And we got to go down there and have a good ride to the airport and all that. But thanks for joining us, Rey.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for
Good to see you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Good seeing you.
Yeah. All right, let's touch on something that really I had to learn the hard way, and that is setting up a transformational business versus a transactional business. Oof. Right. And I think the difference is really the transactional. You're just looking for revenue and transactions, and you stay in that mode of chase. But when you switch to transformational, which is service, give, help, how can I help you? And having a mission behind it changes everything. It turns it into an attraction model.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Where did you learn that? Because I know you did.
Yeah.
I see how you operate now.
Yeah.
Because we all, I think, start in transactional mode.
I would agree that it was a transitional phase for me, from going from hustling and trying to make money to trying to build a business, to have the things and have the fame and be this quote unquote person, to realizing that none of that actually really matters.
Yeah.
And what was the biggest shocker of all is that people don't really care about it. They're attracted to it, but they're attracted to it like they're attracted to a car crash. Yeah. They just want to take a look at it and see it, but it doesn't actually matter to them.
Yeah.
And it isn't until you start realizing that through authenticity, through humility, through like being integrity and alignment with yourself, you actually find people who really care and aren't just like fans, but are supporters in tribe and people that really lock arms with you.
Yeah.
And that was like a learning curve and experience, especially being like the global branding expert. Building people's brand is what I do. So it's not that I've changed anything in what I do. It's I've changed the reason why I do it.
Yeah.
And I've always been a giver. Like I give back to my church. I give back to nonprofits. I give back to all types of organizations. And I have a rule that I live by. If anybody asks me for anything, I'll always give them. So like living in downtown Miami is rough sometimes when I'm walking around, because every corner someone's asking me, and my rule is I got to give them whatever it is. I at one point I had 7 cars, and I'd go to the bank. I'd take out $100 in ones, and I would put $10 in the center console of all my cars, so that when someone would be at the corner when I'm exiting in downtown, going to my house and was asking for money, I give them $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I believe in. So I think while you're building your business, while you're building your brand, while you're building, your legacy, you really want to start focusing on why you do what you do more than what you actually do, right?
Yeah.
And obviously we do certain things to make money, which is fine. There's no problem with that, but you want to ask like, if what I'm doing makes a difference, does it make an impact? And do I care about it too, right? And that will change how you feel. And it'll change how people feel about you.
Yeah.
The super positive way.
They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Exactly.
It's a good saying. Good saying. Yeah. In the Miami culture too, it's like there's a lot of transactional people there. I don't want to paint it with a broad stroke, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of hustlers and transactional, and it gets a bad name for that. And, in my WhatsApp group that I created, we have 300 some members. We're networking in there every day. You see the ones that are transactional,
100%.
And I'm just like, come on, man. And I get people saying like, if they get any business out of there, do you make any money? Like, and some people have relationships with, right? But others I don't. And they never even say thank you really. But you know what? I said to my buddy the other day, was asking me about it. I said, you know what? I'm storing up my treasure somewhere else.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to get it from them. And eventually they'll be, you can see it, and then if people won't do anything with them, or I'll just pluck them from the group at some point. But I'm gonna let them play around a little bit, and then I'll throw hints in there about, hey, let's be transformational versus transactional. Here's why, So, I love that. So, why do you do what you do?
That's a great question, and it just happens. If you've ever heard of human design, if not, you look it up. If you're watching now, humandesign.com, and it basically tells you we're 5 different types of designs, and I'm a projector. So a projector kind of sees into the future. Like that's why we make great coaches, make great consultants, advisors, which is why I'm really good at what I do. But I'm a 6'2", which means I'm the role model hermit. My human design is to show people how to be the best version of themselves. That's like what I'm designed to do in this planet.
Yeah.
And I just happen to have a business where I build people's brands to build them up to be the best version of themselves. Now, one thing is building a brand. For me, it's all about elevating leaders to maximize their influence so they can monetize their mission. I'm very, very clear now in my life, doing this for about 20 years, that I only want to work with faith-based, heart-centered, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. Yeah. People who don't just want to make money, they want to make impact and make a difference and who want to give back. And in the beginning, I was kind of scared to share that, like years ago.
Why?
Well, because, you think you share your faith, you share that you're a Christian, you share your beliefs, it's going to push people away, or people are going to talk about you. They're not going to want to work with you, and you're not going to make the money, and then it might stop. And there's still people who have those types of concerns. But I've gotten to a point where I realize, well, if they don't want to work with me, then I don't want to work with them.
Right.
And that's actually better. And I'm actually attracting the right people, faith-based people. Like I want to lift those leaders up, because something else I've realized over the last several years in my particular profession, and you too a little bit, when you're building people's authority through podcasting and through getting exposure, that you got to be careful who we're building up.
100%.
Because there's some people that were building their brand and their perception. It creates that attraction and it creates that desire. And then what happens when you have a higher influence, you have a higher profession, people follow you, they listen to you, they pay you money, and they refer other people. And that's great if you're doing good things. But if you're not, it could be a real issue. Yeah. And I had an experience recently where a gentleman who built a really great brand, I didn't build his brand, but he built a really great brand. I just happened to MC one of his events a few years ago because I was called in. I'm a good speaker, so I MC the event. And he just went to jail for several years because the business he was putting together, he was taking investor money, and it basically ended up becoming kind of a Ponzi scheme. He took $50,000 of investor money to put a deposit for a Lamborghini. And it ended up being like, I don't know, $29 million.
Oh my God.
Over the course of like 5 or 6 years that this guy took in.
I just don't understand how people live like that.
And now he's in jail. And it's just
I can't imagine. I can't wrap my head around doing that.
And it's just so sad. And we've seen several situations similar to that happen over the last decade in business with investments and things like that. And that just was like a big shock and a big reminder to me, Ray, you need to be very careful who you build up. And that's when I just said, all right, this is who I'm working for. This is who I'm for. Yep. This is, and that's like, now I'm just super like, this is it.
Yeah. Well, I was speaking on a stage when you picked me up from the for the airport that one time, and I shared about my testimony, and people came up to me after, a bunch of people, and were like, hey, that really hit me. One lady said to me, aren't you ever worried about offending anybody in the audience? And I said, I'm not here to please people. I serve my creator, and that's who I'm focused on pleasing. And it'll attract the right people, and more importantly, repels the wrong people. And it's okay. Yeah. Sometimes the wrong people are your family, your friends, people that will pay you the most amount of money. But you got to be okay with repelling those kind of people, because then you get swept up in that, man. There's, I've been around the wrong people, and I try to blame them. They're bad people and this and that. It's not about who they are. People are going to be people. Human beings are flawed, but it's your responsibility.
Amen.
Yeah. So I love that, man. You mentioned hermit. So what about the hermit part?
So this is very interesting. So like I'm a homebody. Yeah. Like I like to be in my home. I have lights, decorations, and the whole nine. It's super comfortable because I like to be at home. And I like for people to come over. So I'm a host. I love sharing people a good time, but I love like they leave and I'm at my home. I don't have to leave. Yeah. So it's interesting because when I'd go to networking events, even when I was younger and I'd go to nightclubs and I'd try to pick up women and stuff, I would never approach them. And I thought I had a fear of rejection. But it turns out that because my design is to wait for the invitation.
Okay.
I'm not supposed to initiate.
Okay.
It's not in my design. So like I remember I used to do things like to try to get an eye, try to get a smile, then once I got that connection, then I would and I would tell my buddies, dude, I need an opener. I'm a closer. I'm not an opener. I used to always say that. So I got a buddy who'd open the conversation. He'd bring me in.
I don't know anything about that stuff.
I'd close. Yeah, you definitely would be an opener.
I was the handoff guy.
You would, you're the opener guy, 100%.
I was the quarterback.
So I'd end up closing like 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
And in business too. In business, I'd come to networking events like this, and I'm not walking around saying, hey, how you doing? Rey Perez, nice to meet you. No, man, I just kind of sit there and I wait. Sometimes I'm on my cell phone. I'm like, until someone sits next to me and says, hi. And the moment they engage me, that's it. I'm open, I'm released. And I used to say, maybe I don't like people. But that's bullshit because I love people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, maybe I'm just not a good. No, you're great at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I realized that I needed to wait to the invitation that changed everything for me.
Okay. So it's okay knowing, being aware of your strengths, weaknesses, and insecurities, right? And thriving with those. However, are you okay being painted into that corner and not being able to change that?
Well, it's not about, so here's the thing. When you live within your human design, you're just happier. Mm-hmm. So now I figured out ways to create questions to get the invitation.
Yeah.
Right? I'll set stuff up. I've created systems so that I get invited in.
Right.
Which a lot has to do with my personal branding, my positioning, right? Being featured on, having talk shows, having all this opens up the opportunity for people to ask me questions. The moment they ask me questions, the invitation's open.
Yeah.
So it's not that I can't do it. It's I've figured out ways to operate within my strengths. And I don't even want to call it strengths or weaknesses because it's more of just alignment.
Okay.
And when you're operating in alignment, you're just a happier person. And that's not something that people are like thinking about. How can I operate in a way that makes me the most fulfilled and the happiest?
And not beat yourself up when you're comparing yourself to others and you're like, man, why can't I be like that? And
100%.
Because that's just defeats. It's
100%. Yeah.
So how did you navigate being in Miami with that crowd that's there? You know what I'm saying?
That's Miami's a transactional, transitional, like very transient city, super sexy, super hot, super attractive, but also super shallow and empty at the same time. I traveled out of state and visited all different other events all over the country. I spend more time out of Miami making business relationships than I actually did in Miami.
Yeah.
I would host my events because it was my backyard, and it's a great place to host events because nobody's like, oh my God, we have to travel to South Florida. Gee, no, that never happens, right? But as far as business is concerned, all my best business clients and customers are outside of Miami.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the aesthetics are great there, and that's my second home. I mean, I love going there. But when I go there, I bring a different energy. I don't get sucked into it. I just stay true to who I am and all that. So like, where did your faith come from? Like, can you kind of share that part?
Yeah, that's a great question. People see I have my cross on all the time, just like you do. And I was raised Catholic, but I remember hating to go to church. Hating to sit in those wooden pews and the whole process.
Well, speaking of Catholic Church, to me, I'm Italian, but it was transactional.
Oh, dude.
To me, it seemed transactional.
100%.
Versus transformational.
Yeah, and it just felt like you were just going through these processes. Like you just had to do these things.
That's why
and you were just doing it because you were commanded to do it. There was no like desire or will or want.
And I don't know about you, but I'm not the type of guy that likes to be told, sit down, stand up, sit down, 100%. Stand up, do this, do that. And I'm like, hey, you don't tell me what.
So I went I went to private school. So I went to Catholic private school all the way to being a senior in high school.
Okay.
The moment I graduated senior high school, never went to church again.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was like the baptism of my niece, I'd show up late.
You show up at a party.
So it just ends and everyone walks out. Oh, sorry. But it wasn't until I think 2011 or 2012 where I got introduced to a Christian non-denominational church where they're playing the music and everybody's dressed in jeans and however they want.
Was that VU Church?
VU Church is where I go now.
Oh, okay.
But before that, it was Potential Church in Cooper City, which I was a part of for a very long time. I served on the online team. So when you would join live stream, welcome to Potential Church. I'm your host, Ray. And I would do all that using my skill set, right, for God. But that just changed I was like, this is church? This looks like a concert. What's going on here? And I didn't realize, because of my brainwashing from the Catholic Church, that church could be a safe, comfortable place where you can come hear the word of God and connect with other people and be a Christian and not have to kneel and wear a suit and tie and open the book and sit there and go through all these like mandated processes. And that changed my whole perspective. And I always, when you know someone has left like a faith-driven background, you hear them say this quote, "I'm spiritual.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have my own way."
I hear it every
Whenever
day.
you hear that, because that's what I used to say, right? that person had some type of background where they had to shun it and like, I'm doing this instead. But we're not meant to do things on our own. We're meant to serve God in community, right?
Yep.
So church is actually an important piece because it brings us together. And I don't diss anybody who's doing it on their own, because you should be praying on your own. You should be having your own connection with your God, but that's not like the only thing you should be doing. We should be coming and gathering in community and doing more. So once I found a church that was comfortable to be in and praise, that changed everything for me. And since 2012 to today, it's been something I'm consistent with. And then I started bringing it into my business. And now I share my faith openly in my events, in events I attend. And I was just saying, in this event, it's been the most faith-based presentation sharing in the 6 years I've ever been part of this group. And it's been the greatest because I've been looking for confirmation for years, for me to not just be this awesome branding guy who shares his faith, but being someone who can like pastor and angelically just share my message more than just the message of branding. And this event has been my confirmation.
Well, there is a revival going on in the United States, definitely. And, there's actually songs appearing on the top charts now that are Christian songs, hip hop, country.
Yep.
And it's awesome to see. I mean, I love it. Chick-fil-A was very successful closing on Sundays. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
How are they going to compete with McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's, all these places that are open on Sundays 7 days a week, and they're only open 6 days a week, but they blow them out of the water.
Yep.
So it just shows that's a model. It can be done. So, I don't shy away from that. How can you be convicted in your faith? And this isn't about your faith. This is about like anything. How can you be convicted in it if you can't talk about it? And be a living demonstration of it. So speaking of that, I'm a big proponent of being a living demonstration. We talk a lot. You and I talk a lot. If anybody knows us, we talk a lot, right? We can talk. But to me, the power is really in being a living demonstration.
Yeah.
Right. How do you demonstrate that?
So for me personally, I've always been a giver. So, I tithe to my church, my 10%, but then I always give far and beyond. I created a nonprofit charity called influencewithlove.org, and we support underprivileged youth all over the world. And it all started by my love for traveling. So I've been to 32 countries so far, and I love to travel and do amazing experiences. But I made it a process that when I travel, I always try to find an orphanage or a kid's home or somewhere where I can go, I can donate my time, my talent, and my treasure. Yeah. And we bring the kids a pizza, ice cream, gifts. We spend time with them. I remember in this orphanage in Colombia, the kids were just literally little kids, just jumping on us, like just grabbing and I was just having fun. I couldn't these little animals everywhere, right? But when I left, I said, "Oh my God, they just wanted love."
Yeah.
They just wanted to be held and just and it just put me in tears. And and there's so many situations like that all over the world and in the United States. So for me, a percentage of everything that we sell in our branding, marketing, video production services, whatever it is, a percentage, 10% always goes right off the top. Not after taxes, not later on. And it says it right on our website. Thank you for your support, because the moment you're buying one of our packages or services, you're donating to the kids and you're supporting the cause.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's something I've been doing for a while, and it was been a part of my business. But recently, God has put on my heart that I need to make it the forefront of my business, being the spearhead of the business. Yeah. So it's not about I build my business, I do what I do, I make money, and then I give to the charity. Now it's I do my business so I can make money to give to the charity. Yep. So when we set our goals in the beginning of the year, it's not how much revenue does the business want to make, it's how much do we want to give this year? Yeah. And based on how much we want to give, that's how much we need to make. Yep. And that changes everything, because the driving force is not making revenue anymore. The driving force is service and giving back to a greater cause. So this year, what we've launched is the SCB, the Socially Conscious Business. It's a partnership program for entrepreneurs. So I thought to myself, why do entrepreneurs give? Well, some give because it's put on their heart to give. Some give because it's a tax write-off, and some just don't give because they don't have the time, they forget, or whatever the case may be. So I said, well, everybody, the best way to receive is to give. But people also like to receive, especially entrepreneurs. So what if I can create a program that every time they give, they can receive something beneficial for their business? So we donate all the branding and marketing services that our company does anyway, and we create purpose-driven, socially conscious branding and marketing for the people who donate, the clients, entrepreneurs, and businesses, so that they can show their customers that they are a socially conscious business. So that when doing what I'm already doing for myself, they can now say, hey, when you buy our packages, you're supporting this nonprofit. And we create all the graphics, all the designs. We'll put them in a magazine. We'll put them in a book. We'll do an interview. And it's all the branding and marketing services, socially conscious.
Great idea. Great idea.
So that's like my mission right now. That's what I'm looking for support. I'm looking for entrepreneurs who are already giving and would love to also do this, or who are not and have been looking for it to support the cause.
Awesome. Where can they go to check that out?
Go to ReyPerez360.com. That's the best way to connect with me. My nonprofit's on there, my website's everything, ReyPerez360.com.
Okay. And besides that, what are you working on right now that's got you excited? That's huge, but
I mean, that's the number one thing that's got me excited. But also I recently moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm opening up a big production studio there. So we're going to be doing a lot of, videos, web, podcast, bunch of different content creation for entrepreneurs to be able to consistently be elevating their personal brand and their message in the world.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get known, right?
That's right.
At the end of the day, and if they don't have that professional look to it too, do people take them seriously?
Well, you've been through it, right?
Yeah,
it's way different prior to what you have today in the world than what you did before, the way that people look at you and the opportunities and doors that open up. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's not that personal branding or building your brand is going to actually make you money directly, because it doesn't. It doesn't make you money directly. What it does is makes everything you're doing more effective, more efficient,
and it opens doors,
and it gives more opportunities.
Like, how important is perception, credibility, perception versus real credibility?
It's the most. There's nothing more important than perception. Yeah. And I like to give this example for anyone who's listening and that might be like getting challenged by this conversation. When you go to a restaurant that you've never been to in your entire life and you look at the menu, how do you make a buying decision?
Well, if they have pictures,
or
description of the food,
the writing,
the price,
and what you maybe have heard about it, right?
Yeah, what you've heard about it. Yeah.
So it's what you see, what you hear, and what you read.
Yeah.
But you've never actually tasted it.
Yep.
So you make a buying decision based on the perception of what you see, hear, and read.
Yep.
And that's the same thing in life. Everything is perception based.
Yeah.
Now, what keeps them coming back? The real value, of course, right? And the referrals and the recommendations. But that first initial sale is all perception based.
I love it, man. We could talk for hours. You know that. We both can talk, as I said. Rey Perez 360. Go check it out. Anything else you want to add?
I would just say this. If you are a purpose-driven entrepreneur, if you're a faith-based entrepreneur, reach out, because my mission on this planet is to help leaders elevate their brand, their influence, and monetize their mission. And that's what I'm here to do.
Rey Perez, thank you so much for your time, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Hang tight while I wrap this up. Folks, that's the BA Podcast episode for today with Rey Perez, your boy C-Roc. Make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button at your favorite podcast platform, whatever you're on right now. And keep coming back, and go check out BA. boardofadvisors.com, I believe it is. If not, Google it and you'll see. And you could be attending the next event here in Dallas with us. Until next time.